I think the low rates, the cash out refis, all those things are kind of like different. So I'm kind of focusing on building our brand, and then just the business. There's a lot of opportunity in lending right now. 100,000 LOs got out of the business and more.
Say that one more time, 100,000 what?
LOs got out of the business, loan officers.
Wow.
So we're down 50, 60%. So for me, there's a huge opportunity when the rates drop to make a lot.
To pick up a lot of clients.
Wait, how's this? I'm gonna have my biggest year yet when rates are this high. Think about that.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, I got someone that I have not seen in a little bit.
I know.
Someone who is crushing it in the real estate investing space, in the loan industry. He knows the capital markets better than anyone that I know. I got my man, for the second time, repeat guest, my man, Kenny Simpson. Kenny, welcome to the show, brother.
What's up, Rich? How are you?
Dude, I'm doing amazing, man. It's been forever. I think the last time you were here was for a holiday party 2 years ago.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Crazy. Time. It feels like it was yesterday.
Dude, and you're crushing it, so it's awesome to watch. So congrats on everything.
I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you. We were just talking before we started recording. My first ever in-person podcast was at your studio here in Mission Valley.
Yep.
I want to say that was like summer of 2022.
Yep.
So it wasn't that long ago. It was less than 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember that was my first in-person podcast. I was so freaking nervous, dude. Yeah, I remember my palms were sweating and I was like, oh my God, I was so freaking nervous. And now I've done so many of these in person. I'm like, it's not a big deal anymore.
Yeah.
It's freaking weird how that works in life, right?
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, anything you're doing, you're like, why was I ever fearful and nervous, right? It's crazy,
Yeah.
but we are.
Yeah. But it's also one of those things I think you can apply it to anything in life, anything that's new, like push it to your comfort zone. It's like weird. It's like nerve wracking at first, but then you do it over and over and over. And then it's like, oh, this is like riding a bike. Same thing like speaking, like my first in-person like speaking engagement, I was so nervous. And now I'm like, I get up there, I'm just like having fun, and it's like, that's just how the game works though. And so I think for the folks out there that say, oh, I can never do that, or I can never do something like that, that's just not my personality. I'm like, no, like it's not supposed to be easy the first time for anything.
If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what makes it worth it.
Yeah.
So anyways, what the hell you been up to, dude?
Honestly, super busy. We have 2 girls, so they're
Congrats.
keeping us really busy.
How old are the girls now?
They're 4 and 5.
Okay.
Yep. They're definitely a piece of work. Because Crystal and I are both leaders, so they're like it's like I got 3 women and 1 guy in the house. So I'm like reminder, I'm the chief here, you know.
Yeah.
So doing that, and then obviously Crystal and I are just doing our thing. So it's just the content and mainly loans right now. Not much investing because the market, But honestly, with the loan stuff, we're at the point in the market where I tell people like 08 back then, we're solving a lot of problems for people. Because people, big, small, whatever, they have problems, whatever they need. And this is where you need to really work with somebody that's like knows their shit, And this is where we get a lot of business because people are like, like I say, First Republic going out of business got me busy because a lot of those customers, like they were going to me, they went there. Now they're like, where do I go? Because that was their go-to.
Yeah.
So things like that hit the market. It's really, those people are kind of like lost.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting time that we're in, but I got to be honest, man, like looking back, the rate environment has been high now for a couple of years now. The rate started pumping about 2 years ago, spring of 2022. So it's been exactly 2 years. And if you would have told me back then that we would be at a 7% rate environment for 2 years in housing market, relatively speaking, in most major markets has been pretty much untouched. There's some discounts out there, but nothing crazy. I would have been shocked.
We would have both lost bets.
Yeah, we'd have lost bets. It's kind of crazy, but I think it's a true testament to how strong the housing market fundamentals are from like a supply demand standpoint, the shifting demographics, and the lack of supply and the lack of inventory that's out there. So it's very interesting to see what's going to happen. We saw the Federal Reserve print about 80% of the money supply in the last 4 years. Now, a lot of that money's been sucked out of the economy and it's parked in the CDs and government bonds and all that sort of thing. But at some point, I don't know, you tell me, but at some point, we're going to see the rates swing a little bit. I saw there was news late last year. The Fed was like, hey, we're going to do some rate cuts. And then now they're like, oh, there's like nothing in the near future. What's the latest and greatest with the rate environment? Yeah,
I mean, you kind of nailed it. So we've never printed this much money, and we gave it, I always tell people how we gave it out was different. Because last 2008, they gave it to the banks and they lent it out. This time, they gave it to businesses. They gave it to people like in your account, right? And then obviously they kept the rates low. They printed that way. And then obviously a lot of people didn't pay rent and mortgages. And so they stacked. So a lot of people actually, if you're a homeowner and you're locked in a 2-3%, you're not feeling probably this inflation as much. Because think about it. If you're a renter though, you're getting smoked, especially in certain places like here or Austin or Florida, right? So when you count all that, and then I just think this money was just, there's so much more money in the system than we all could fathom that rates are staying higher longer. So the Fed is a flip-flopped a little bit because originally he said my Fed funds rate is going to be in line with core PC, which is coming out Friday. Well, core PC was at 6. Now it's in the mid 2s.
What is core PC?
That's basically their CPI, PPI, and PCE. That's one of their inflation measures. That's what the Fed actually goes off of.
The target.
But he's kind of flip-flopping now. So based on like the data and the guys I really follow and we look at, he's really watching the jobs market. Because you and I know if you lose jobs, things start to go south, right?
Sure.
And so we're full unemployment. And so really, he's got a tough job because we thought at the beginning of the year, let's see, end of last year, rates hit 8%, 10-year hit 5%, and things kind of just stopped. It was a little scary. We were like, okay. And he came out and quickly said we had some good prints on inflation, said, oh, we're going to cut. And then now he's pulling back saying, well, maybe we're not ready because we've had some good prints. So with the rate environment, it's, I think he should cut because I think it's going to come up on him quick, like a slowdown or something. Credit card delinquency just hit 6% on $1 trillion. Last time we did that, we were above 4.8 was in 2008. So fundamentally, we're kind of there. But why are we not cut? Because the job market's strong. Everybody's they're employed, they're paying their bills, and a lot of people have a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know that. Like
there's a lot of money out there, even in this environment.
$8 trillion in treasuries sitting there. And how are they going to move that off? You're not going to move that until you can get 5% in a treasury. You just sit there.
But I think the one thing that has, like, at least from what I've noticed in my community and the folks that I'm talking to in the real estate investing space, the one thing that I've noticed that's really changed is like asset values are not appreciating like they were. And so the ability to like do cash out refis and sell a property and buy another one, like people were just moving money around. And so they were using a lot of money to pay off debt and all that sort of thing. And so now you can't really use that as an out. It's a lot more challenging to do that. And so I think, at a certain point, to your point, like, it's going to start to work its way through the system, right? And, I think this is not sustainable for another 2 years. Let's be honest, right? Right?
I mean, how?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you anticipate for the rest of this year? What are they saying now? Are they still going to do a couple rate cuts?
I think they will, I mean, it's kind of like, because look, the first rate cut, it's a 0.25%. It's psychological, if anything, right? You're just psychologically saying, I'm now officially not going to raise, I'm going to cut. That's just for the time being. And he's saying that now we're going to move into that stance. But, a lot of people think he's not going to do that if we can't get an unemployment rate above 4%. So maybe he doesn't come out and say that, but it's like he always alludes to unemployment now because the Fed funds and the PCE, if they were more in line, he's off. So I think we're going to have to see unemployment tick up, or we're going to have to see some really negative prints on inflation, which I don't know. It's hard because we're getting, but look, a lot of stuff's going up. Car insurance went up 22%. Everybody's like, why? I'm like, well, the car insurance companies delayed raising rates because of the COVID, the pandemic. And now they're like, we're going to whack you all in 1 year. But maybe it's a one-time event. We're all getting hit. So that's going to come down. But I agree with you. This can't go on. There's just no way. And what would make things break faster? It's probably just people losing their jobs. You get a couple million people lose their jobs. You're going to have some softening. Yeah.
Not to mention property insurance is like essentially doubled in like all asset classes. It's freaking crazy to think about. How is this rate environment, being high where it's been over the last 2 years? The people that are doing loans right now, the investors that are doing refis and they're buying, what types of buyers or borrowers are these? Are these people with maturing debt and they need to get it they need to get in new loans, or what is it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So you've got some people that are bought a property, maybe rehab, build it, add ADUs, and they're like, I gotta get out of this 10, 12%, fix and flip loan, whatever. So they're kind of like maybe breaking even on the cash flow. They could sell it, but they're like, no, that's one. Number two, there are people buying. It's just hard to make things cash flow. So I think it's like, what's the appreciation play now? I think a lot of it's adding value, adding ADUs, things like that. But if a first-time home buyer or somebody's buying a home, I mean, if they're buying now, they're like, well, if rates get in the fives and we have no inventory in San Diego, isn't the price going to go up? I don't want to wait. So a lot of people are just like, let's not wait.
Yeah.
That's the mindset. So, but there's, we also, as we know a lot of big investors here that have a lot of money, a lot of property, some buying a little bit and some are just kind of like, hey, this is the time where we're just going to chill.
Yeah. Honestly, like right now, I have no hesitation to buy in a good location of like, let's say San Diego, because the stuff that I'm buying, I'm like thinking long game, 10, 15, 20 years. And like right now, there's no competition out there. You can negotiate good deals and, often get like seller to, throw in some credits and cover a lot of stuff. And I'm like, dude, with the money supply going up, I'm like in 5 years, 7 years, whatever, like these assets are going to do great if you can buy in good locations. So I have no hesitation buying right now. And then, dude, I'll just refi later when the rates go back down. So I don't know. That's my sentiment, right? I'm not afraid of this. I don't think we're going to see this big real estate crash.
No, I mean, commercial office.
Yeah.
That's, it's kind of funny. I think we're 24% vacant on our office. I think the next country is 6%.
What is it? 4 to 6%?
Yeah.
Damn.
It's because they said you're going back to the office. We were kind of like, whatever. And it's really killing the sector, right? So you're seeing office buildings like San Francisco worth 300 million trading at 50, 60 million. So that's kind of going through. But as far as multifamily, I think people are going to lose in multifamily probably did the, a Freddie floater or they did a bridge debt and they're just like smoked. You know that, right? But housing, I mean, 95% of people that have a loan are locked in on a 5% or less, 75, 4, 30%, 3. Mm-hmm. They're chilling.
Yeah.
And they're not moving.
Yeah.
Our parents, grandparents, they're locked in. So that inventory is like off the table.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think in good markets with good fundamentals like San Diego, I just think there's such a shortage of supply here that even if this rate environment stayed where it is for another year, I still am not concerned about pricing really dipping like crazy.
We have 3 million people. We have a little bit over 3,000 listings. And if you take out like, a property that's, let's say the average person's buying $1.5 million and below, and you take out, it's less.
Yeah.
Like, there's a couple thousand. It's like you said, it's where are you going to build it here? There's nothing. That's why I tell people, if you're a flipper in San Diego and you're locked in and you can find the deals and create the value and there's a buyer right there always, you're going to make money that way for sure. There's always a buy, 7%. They don't care. We have a lot of people coming down from San Francisco and things like that. They're like, this is a deal.
Dude, I say it all the time. I'm like, okay, out of the 4 major markets in California, you got the Bay Area, LA, Orange County, San Diego. You could argue San Diego has the best beaches, the best vibe, the best culture, the best food. And from a median sale price, it's still a lot more affordable than the Bay Area, right? And so now you're starting to see a lot of tech companies migrate down. Yes, people are leaving, but I think the people that are leaving San Diego are the ones that are a little bit lower income, and the ones that are coming in are a little bit higher income. And then from a supply standpoint, to the north, you got Camp Pendleton. To the west, you got the Pacific Ocean. To the south, you got the Mexican border. And to the east, you got the mountain ranges. And so from a supply standpoint, San Diego is really like its own little island. And so now that the cat's kind of out of the bag, like, I hear people from the East Coast, they're like, oh man, like San Diego's the shit. It's like the Miami of the West Coast. And so now it's starting to get out there. And I think as people continue to migrate in here, it's going to continue to just push pricing up over the long term.
Yeah, I live in La Jolla Shores.
Okay.
And I literally,
it's a nice area, dude.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah.
And I literally have looked up, I'll say this publicly, whatever. I look up who's buying, who lives there. So most of the homes are second and third homes. I could tell you on the hill there's probably 9 homes already being knocked down to build houses. And these people don't even live here. So they're, like you just said, people are coming here and buying in that, Del Mar, La Jolla, Ranch Santa Fe. It's a lot of second, third homes. There's a lot of money coming into San Diego because like you said, it's beautiful. It's great. It's a lot of offer. And I always tell people this, like you just said, like if 100 wealthy people decide I want to go buy a second, third home here in this area, this is what happened in Miami. Look at Miami, look at West Palm. I mean, you have a problem and it's kind of happening slowly. And there's just, if people built more product, I think you'd have that coming. But I know a couple of big builders in there and stuff, and they're just telling me the money coming in and the people, it's insane. It's insane. So the word is out.
No, the word is out.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like at a progression now to where, like when I first got into real estate investing, I was doing like C-class apartments in like more affordable areas like Cincinnati. I have a couple small apartment buildings there, and I just decided recently to list both of them. And so I got 11 unit under contract with a buyer, and I'm going to 1031 out here. And so I'm picking up like kind of a higher end, like 4-bed, like 3-story with a 4-story rooftop in Mission Hills, newer property. And I'm just like, it doesn't have value to be added, but I'm just like, I don't even care. Most of the stuff I do buy has always been value add, right? And I always like say, oh, you got to add value. But like, I don't even care because I'm getting out of an old property, and I'm just using the equity to put down on a nicer asset that's newer, great dirt. It's got peak views of the bay. And I'm just like, dude, I'm just going to park that money for 10, 15 years. There's 800 short-term rental licenses left from the city.
Is that crazy?
Yeah. And I'm like, what the hell? A year later. And everyone was like, dude, those are going to go so quick. 5,500 licenses.
The biggest woof ever. Like, right? Like,
and the rumor was there was 16,000 short-term rentals at the time. And a year later, there's still 800 left. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be kicking myself down the road if I don't pick up another one or two. And so although this property has no value to be added, I'm like, I don't care. I'm just moving my equity over. My team's going to manage it, and I'm just going to park that money. And I guarantee in 15 years, that property is going to double in value. If you look at all the real estate values in San Diego in good locations, every 12 to 15 years, they double like clockwork.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, any real estate guys that understands investing is going to tell you, like, in these areas, you're going to consistently win. Just because it's who's living here, who's moving in here, right? And so I mean, it was funny you said, because I was thinking about, I grew up in Miami. And I was talking to my brother last night, and he's in Miami Beach. And we were talking about, I was like, gosh, this area is blown up. And like, we were kids, and it was like nothing. It was like, we cannot believe it literally, what you could buy and what is worth now. It's insane, the prices. And we're like, our parents bought there, but if they just bought in this neighborhood, or our grandparents, they would have been from making $1 million in a house to like 10 million or 20. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like you said, this is over time. We're talking 70 years ago to now. It doesn't matter. If you buy right location where people are coming, it matters.
For sure. And so I think my progression is like early on, I'm like, okay, I want some cash flow. Where can I go to like get that and more affordable stuff? And now I'm like, I just want like newer, nicer assets and like really good locations that I can just park it. I don't really care about the cash flow too much because I know over time the appreciation is the biggest lever.
And you can always sell too. It's easy to sell, right? Like if you need to sell, and
there's always going to be a buyer.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that one.
Mission Hills is such a we lived there for a while. I love that spot. Yeah, I love Mission Hills. Great spot.
Yeah, you're close to downtown.
Yeah,
you're close
the
to the
RBOs do
airport.
good there. If you have a right one, you'll crush it. Yeah.
No,
you know how to do it.
I'm excited for it. So we'll see. So what are you guys doing on your end in terms of buying? And because you mentioned when the show started that you're not buying right now.
Yeah, we're kind of chilling. I'm really focused like our loan business right now, but kind of evaluating what we're going to buy. Kind of like you're kind of like multifamily's tough because rates it is. And so probably the play I see in San Diego is if we're going to buy like the long-term stuff, it would probably be buying a 4-unit, converting garages, that kind of play. I've seen so many deals, start, finish, exit, appraisals. So I know the value's there. I've seen hundreds of deals, like all pro forma, start to finish. So I'm like, that's where the value is being made in San Diego right now. I can tell you right now. And the ADUs is the game plan. Another thing is, like you said, is maybe doing some vacation rentals because there's license left too in the right spot, because I'm kind of like.
And for someone out there that's like, I'm going to wait. But I'm like, well, if you want to do the STR play, which, we manage in like 8 markets in the country, San Diego is the best market in terms of, from seasonality perspective, it's the best. You guys have some short-term rentals.
Yeah. So
but like, you don't have to push and pull on these listings. They just stay booked year round, especially if you're in a good location. And then I do love that, like, okay, you get one of those licenses, you're kind of protected long-term and you don't have to worry about the regs changing and all that crap. And so I'm like, okay, well, for someone that's on the fence, I'm like, well, this is a reason to get in now while there's still 800 licenses left.
No, because once they're gone, they're gone.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, San Diego, 30 something million people come and visit us a year. 19 million have to stay.
Say that number again.
So about 30 plus million people visit San Diego a year, and 19 million require to stay.
Oh, to stay overnight. They're not
and
staying
you and I know,
family. Yeah.
There's not enough hotels.
No, there's not.
And people here drive in. A lot of people drive in, as you know, but if they're going to stay a week or two, I mean, nobody really wants to stay in a hotel. Hotels are probably good for, you know, a long weekend. But if you have kids, you want the VRBO, you want the kitchen, the bathrooms, you just want the room.
It's like number 2 in the country I saw for like conferences too. Like work conferences, business trips, like San Diego is the premier spot. The weather's great. You got all this stuff right on the water. And we see a lot of conferences out here. I mean, all these hotels, the Hilton Bayfront, the Grand Hyatt right here, the Manchester Hyatt, the Marriott Marquis. I mean, they're always hosting conferences. And so you see folks kind of flooding into, like NMHC was just out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was huge.
That was huge. Yeah. I mean, all the restaurants here in Little Italy, like that week were just all people from that conference.
I mean, San Diego, if
you couldn't even get in a restaurant on a Monday night.
Yeah. If you go back, I mean, I remember we always have this discussion with people I know. It's when I moved here in 99, there's not many great restaurants. Let's be honest. A couple clubs. Fast forward now. I mean, look at the restaurant scene. Look at the options, bars, clubs, restaurants. You know, the options. I know Manchester's building that insane thing down there. I mean, it's insane.
Have you always lived in San Diego your whole life?
No, originally Miami.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How many years have you been out here now?
So I went from Miami to like basically Westlake Thousand Oaks, which is north of LA near Calabasas right there. Everybody knows Calabasas from the Kardashians. So I say that. And so I moved here in 92. Miami, first 12. My brother and family is all still in Miami.
Damn. How old were you then?
12 years old.
Okay, so you were a young buck, man.
And I came down here to school. Actually, I went back to West Palm. I drove out here by myself. My family's like, we'll see if you make it there. I drove out here all by myself and with some friends. I knew they were like, this guy's going to fail. And then, made it.
Yeah, I love that. Do you go to college out here?
Yep, never finished.
Where at?
I went to Mesa, and then I went to Cal State San Marcos, and then
you went to San Marcos. I went there too, man.
Did you?
And
yeah. I just was going to school, and I got in the real estate game, and I just 1 year left. I said I'm out. I just quit school. I was like, I don't need a degree.
Nothing I use today, I learned in school.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, man, to think about, bro. So you and Crystal right now, I mean, you got your lending business and you guys are investing in real estate. Tell me a little bit, remind me what you guys own. I know you guys got some multifamily stuff. You got some
about
Airbnb
50
stuff.
units here.
Okay.
And then
is that a couple buildings or how many buildings?
Yeah, we have on our own 50 units. So it's 2 buildings and then the vacation rental. And then we're partners and some other stuff here. And then we're partners and stuff like syndication stuff. And then really honestly, yeah, I mean, we're sitting here now just thinking about like you said, what is the play? Because you got to change, right? Because I think the low rates, the cash out refis, all those things are kind of like different. So I'm kind of focusing on building our brand, and then just the business. There's a lot of opportunity in lending right now. 100,000 LOs got out of the business and more.
Say that one more time, 100,000 what?
LOs got out of the business, loan officers.
Wow.
So we're down 50, 60%. So for me, there's a huge opportunity when the rates drop to make a lot.
To pick up a lot of clients.
Wait, how's this? I'm gonna have my biggest year yet when rates are this high. Think about that.
How have you grown it in the high rate environment?
Solving problems, non-QM, bridge debt, private money, helping a lot of self-employed people. That's like, you got to know when to pivot. And doing this a long time in 08, I knew. So a lot of portfolio banks, private banks, things like that are used to helping these customers. They're like, we're not lending, so they got to go somewhere. And so I get a lot of referrals because you've been around, or they were using me and they went to the bank and now they're like, hey, the bank's not, now I'm back to you again. Yeah. So you just get opportunities in a lending environment that's stronger, more liquidity, fluid, that they don't come to me. Now they come to me.
Dude, it's interesting because you mentioned all those loan officers that kind of washed out of the industry. Now they're working other careers, but you guys and a couple other folks I know that are good lenders, they're all telling me, hey, we're fucking taking advantage right now. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I'm it's already public knowledge. So I'm at C2, but I'm moving over to a company called What's a Mortgage. So What's a Mortgage is the number one men that runs that channel is the number one influencer in mortgage.
Really?
So yeah. So I've been talking to them for a while. So I'm moving over there. And we're going to basically become the biggest influencers in mortgage. That's what we're focused. That's why I'm really focused on that. So just dominating a lot of opportunity. And right now, a lot of opportunity to spend ad money, on Facebook, Instagram, and like YouTube. And so really just putting out educational information, bringing people through a funnel, and they eventually become customers or not. And so a lot of, like you just said, a lot of people are not spending money right now in ads because they're backing off because it's slow. Or just hitting the throttle. So the opportunity, like I kind of been waiting for this opportunity in the industry. Like in 2020, I even said, it's going to get good, shit's going to get bad. And I was like, all the podcasts, the content, everything, it's all adding up and paying off. Because, people are like, why are you doing all this stuff? I was like, it wasn't for 20, 21, 22. It was for now. And a lot of people that haven't done anything, like, oh, I'm going to start doing content. They don't realize it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. and at first you don't see much results. And it's like a lot of people just drop off. But like you said, it's a long game. It's a freaking long game, and in today's age, it's the secret sauce.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? 95% of podcasts don't make it past 10 episodes or something. It's crazy.
Almost all of them die within the first 3 months.
Yeah.
And so if you can just make it 1 year, you're already in like the top 2%.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So just learning that game, and then just I'm just taking advantage full of this, and why the rates stay higher longer. It's just weeding out, and then realtors too. They're feeling the pain, right? It was really easy.
They're getting weeded out too.
Dude, list a home. You're in Cabo. I'm selling it. I'm the man. And now it's like, what happened? That game's over. It's work.
Yeah. But
all this stuff's a lot of work.
Yeah. But it's opportunity for the other folks, right?
That's the thing now, is anybody listening, it's like some people might be doom and gloom on this, but you and I are sitting here like there's endless opportunity. And people, how's that possible? It's because we're just looking at it from a different lens. Maybe, when last 2008-9, right, when the shit hit the fan, there's this loan officer, one of the biggest loan officers. He's out of LA. He's done $15 billion of loans in his career, and he was growing. And I was like, how is a guy growing when shit's falling apart? And then now I'm in this cycle again and I'm like, I'm growing and thriving. And I realized, because he knew it was coming, he was prepared, and all this work he did, this is when you grow in these times, And so when things pull back, most people get scared, nervous, but this is where you have to step your game up. And so I'm realizing this opportunity is here, and it's, rates drop, it's going to be huge. And so I'm kind of under the pressure. It's like, make a lot of money, keep buying real estate, just do that, Yeah. It's a simple game.
Yeah. The true players in all industries, they figure out how to win during the downtimes. And then when things turn around, it's like now they're really hitting the throttle, which it's pretty cool to see. And it also tells you that you're hanging out with the right people.
You're getting opportunities too, right? What opportunities, like in yours, you're seeing like crazy opportunities, right? Like
we are
deals falling apart, or
we are. And like, we're like, fuck, dude. And so, we're seeing discounts out there. And, before this rate environment, that was not the case, And so I think there's always opportunity out there, and you just gotta take what the defense is giving you. And right now the defense is, hey, high interest rate, but there's no competition out there.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's crazy.
We've been working on this for the past few months.
We always want to bring as much value as we possibly can, and our partner, Prime Corporate Services, is all about bringing you a service you can't get anywhere else at a price you can't get anywhere else. Whether you're new to owning a business or owning a property, or you're an experienced property owner or investor, Prime Corporate Services is not only going to help you, but they're going to make the process so much easier. So if you book a call, the first thing they're going to do for you is help you understand what your business structure should look like, your corporate structure, tax planning, estate planning, all of that. Maybe you're saying, I'm brand new to starting a business and all this sounds foreign and complicated. Remember, this company helps new people just getting started every day. They're going to help you form the entity that's best for you and walk you through the process. Before I found this company, we paid thousands of dollars to other attorneys, CPAs, and consultants to try to understand exactly how we need to be structured to be as protected as possible. We've also gone the other route and used online platforms to form entities which unnecessarily put us at risk. You guys, you don't have to do that with this company. They'll do all of these things for you at a reasonable price, so you never have to think about saving money at the expense of exposing yourself to liability. We've searched high and low, and you will not find this much value anywhere else. All you have to do is schedule a free call today. Just go to primecorporateservices.info/GITCG. Once again, that's primecorporateservices.info/GITCG. We'll also leave the info for you in the show notes.
So tell me about the loan stuff. So Crystal does the commercial side, you do the residential, and you guys work under a brokerage, or you guys are the broker?
Crystal has her own brokerage.
Okay.
And so I work under a brokerage.
Got it.
And which will be, I'm under C2, but I'm moving to
when you say C2 and this other company, what are they?
So C2 Financials here in San Diego, they're one of the bigger brokers, so I'm under them. It's kind of like I'm my own business within a business, right?
Okay. So you're under Crystal.
No, I'm under another one. So Crystal's her own broker.
Why aren't you under Crystal?
Well, residential, because of all the regulation stuff, I don't want to deal with the headache. It's just not worth it. So we thought about it, and I'm like, I can just go under somebody. They take a very little fraction, and I get to do what I want to do. Obviously, don't break the law, and they just kind of let me go. So all the compliance and headache and all that you have to do, it's just not worth the time. The squeeze isn't worth the juice to do your own thing. And so I'm not like a guy that has that ego. It's like, I want to have my own broker. I'm more like, I want to help clients out more and do my thing. I don't want to worry about compliance and this and that. Like, I'll let somebody else deal with that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So the spreads they came down and now they're back up, I've noticed. Is that accurate? Just on like residential DSCR stuff. So I'm looking at getting like a non-QM for this like Mission Hills property. And I noticed like 3-4 months ago at the end of last year when there was like talk, oh, we're going to do some rate cuts in 2024, the spreads had come down a little bit. And then now I noticed they're back up. Is that accurate?
So two different things, right? So most people talk Fannie, Freddie, right? Like that, because there's always a buyer there, which is the government. So that's always good. Then you're talking non-QM, and non-QM's actually, I look at it differently than most. So I'll explain. So over here, Fannie, Freddie, there's a 10-year treasury, and then there's obviously the spread between the 30-year and 10-year. That has actually been the highest. So even though the 10-year treasury moved up, rates should be worse now, but we got a little relief in the spread. So the spread usually sits around like 180, let's call it 2%.
Okay.
It went to 3. Why? Because First Republic and all that blew up. On top of that, there is a lot of insecurity. So the market's like, hey, if I'm buying loans in this, I want more. Also, if you're a servicer, right? When somebody sends you the mortgage statement, they own your servicing, they prepay for that servicing. Well, if they know Rich or Kenny and Bob and Susie are going to refi in a couple of years, they have to they're front loading the cost to you because they're like, I make money when I hold this servicing for 3 to 5 years. If Rich pays off his mortgage in 2, I lose. So I'm hitting you on the front. So I'm charging that premium to you. A lot of people don't talk about this. That premium's come down the last few months randomly. So that could naturally just bring rates down. If that spread came down to where it was, we would have rates probably 75 basis points lower right now with nothing else happening. So that probably is going to happen when Powell cuts to give that confidence. Okay, we're going the right direction. So that's number one. So you're talking non-QM. Non-QM is a little different too. So I look at non-QM 2 different reasons. You have some non-QM lenders, most of them that they basically do your loan and then they package it and they sell in bulk on the secondary market. Then there's non-QM lenders that don't have to do that. They're actually backed by funds, which a lot of people don't know this. This is a little secret I'm giving you guys.
These are like REITs and stuff?
Huh?
These are like REITs?
Yeah, like Wall Street guys that are buying it.
Okay.
Like, one fund that I know behind a company is a $400 billion fund that's owned by a little company you might have heard of called MetLife, you know?
Yeah.
So they own it. So the difference from that is they could sell it, they could portfolio it, and they're an insurance company. So they're like, we're cool with a 7% return. So those guys could be more aggressive on pricing than somebody else. They're setting the market on pricing because they're like, we want deals. They don't have to sell. They don't have to. So they're not like, well, I don't have a buyer at that rate, So that's where you get more exceptions, like better pricing. And that's where you can get tougher deal done. So there's some non-QM lenders that are like, their funds are a little bit higher rate, but they'll be a lot more aggressive with guidelines and things like that. And other ones are a little bit like, hey, we're not gonna be aggressive with this, but we'll give you a better rate. So that's kind of when I look at things, that's really the lay of the land. And a lot of LOs don't even understand the difference. So if like when COVID hit, if there was a lot of non-QM kind of blew up, and there were some that were backed by banks and funds, they were lending and just aggressive because they're like, we're not selling, we're a buyer. I've got a bank, we can buy these all day. So they were crushing it, And then if they decide to turn the nozzle off, that's over.
For the listener out there that's curious what a non-QM product is, can you just kind of give us high level real quick?
Yeah. So so when 2008, 9, 10 happened, the government basically revamped everything and said, we got to change how we do mortgages, right? So they have a mortgage called qualified mortgage, which is think of like Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA. You got to go full doc, show the whole kit and caboodle and qualify that way. And then there's non-QM, which is really outside of that realm. It could be a bank that's doing them or a secondary market product. And so that's typically DSCR loans. That could be non-QM could be 12 months, 24 months bank statements, maybe like a P&L loan, things like that. That's non-qualified where basically the government looks at 2. And so the big banks are really staying away from the non-qualified. That's what got them in trouble. So they're just not going there because they don't want to deal with the regulation and stuff. So that's why most of that product is getting sold in the secondary. Non-QM definitely wants and warrants a more higher yield. So, you might go, oh, I'm over here at 7, but non-QM, I'm going to be at 7.5 because that buyer's like, well, of course I want more yield if I'm going to pay more because you're doing a little different loan, whether it's DSCR, bank statement, things like that.
Yeah, I love that.
Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, totally. I never did any non-QM stuff until the rate environment started going up in like 2022. But I'm curious, like back in 21 when the rates were 3%, what was the non-QM product pricing at?
In the 3s and 4s.
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane, dude.
People were getting fix and flip loans.
That's insane.
Super cheap. And then they're getting, that's why some people went out and bought a bunch of houses on DSCR and they have 3 and 4%.
That's awesome.
IO.
That's
10
awesome.
years.
Yeah.
Smart moves.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great product. I mean, from like a borrower standpoint, it's like no tax returns. You don't have to worry about all this bullshit. It's nice and easy. It's just clean. And like, yeah, I think a lot of that stuff is maybe like DSCR restricted, but it's like, how often do you see those not coming in where they need to?
I mean, they can honestly go
even if they use long-term rents, it's like, whoa, pushed it right through, right?
Yeah, they can go no ratio, 75.85 all the way to,
Really?
Yeah, they can do
below 1-to-1.
Yeah. And then we have DSCR too that we'll use if you have a vacation rental and it hasn't even been a vacation rental, we can go on and use AirDNA and stuff and use vacation rental to come to qualify you too for a property.
Yeah, I love that.
It's they're flexible.
So question for you. So I know like as you go up in loan amount, the leverage might be reduced a little bit. So couple examples I'm gonna throw at you. So the Mission Hills property that I'm under contract on, $1.65 million purchase, non-QM product. What's the max leverage you can do there?
Single
and
family.
I'll say something else. The seller's carrying $140,000. No, $150,000 in second position. What's the max leverage I could do there?
That's a good question. So you have the LTV and the CLTV. You know what CLTV is?
Combined
loan to value.
Yeah.
So people don't know. So that's like adding a second in. So probably on that, you probably could do 80%, but there could be a lender that would allow you to do a higher CLTV on the second. I'd have to check because that doesn't come up too often. But 80%, but probably you're going to get the best pricing, 70, 75 to give you the best. You know, you probably go IO. Typically, I tell people if there's some places that have no prepay, 1 year prepay. It depends. 1 year prepay. Some guys, they are going to give you much more favorable terms. They're going to whack you for no prepay because they're kind of like, they're not getting as much spread on the back end from their investor. I would definitely advise people to be cautious. I hate to say this, but a lot of LOs don't really understand the product. And for listeners, they're sticking people into a 3 year prepay and they're high rates. I think people are going to realize when they go to refi, some people, they just don't read the fine print. They're going to be like, wait a minute, I have a $40,000 prepay when they go to refi. So I would say 98% of my clients are doing a 1 year prepay. I coach them. I tell them, I go, look, like, think about it. I know it's a little bit lower, but you don't want to kick yourself. You want to have that opportunity to refi. So I tell people a 1 year prepay is not bad. A 1 year goes by quick. We haven't seen each other for like 2 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so, so there's that. But there are some lenders that actually don't even do prepays. It's weird. They're just aggressive pricing that. They're backed by banks and stuff. So you just have to know where you're going, and who does what.
No, totally. So with the 80% product, would they be okay with the seller carrying another 10% in second?
They could. I'd have to just look at the guidelines. Yeah.
So it'd be potentially as little as 10% down.
Yeah.
That's not too bad. Okay. And then let me throw another one at you. I'm looking at another thing out here. I'm like, maybe I can get 2 more short-term rental permits before they're up. Why not, right? Why not?
Them up.
So we'll see. But anyways, so I looked at a property yesterday, $3.7 million purchase price. I can maybe get it for like 3.4, 3.5. Yeah, newer construction, single family home with like a casita. So it's like a 4-bed, 4-bath in the main house and a 1-bed, 1.5 bath in the casita.
Sounds killer.
Yeah, sick. Got a rooftop deck with an ocean view, and it's got a pool. It's all sick. But it would be an STR, right? And so I know higher end stuff, you guys may be a little bit leverage, restricted. What kind of max leverage am I looking at there? Non-QM.
So non-QM, very aggressive to 3 million.
Very aggressive to 3 million. In loan amount or purchase price?
Loan amount.
Okay.
Yep.
So potentially I could pick it up for 3.5 and put 500 down.
Yeah, you probably, I mean, I have to, again, it's quick for me to price, but then I have also, again, you go back to, I sell them and I have a fund behind me. I've got a guy now, I'll give you an example. He's buying a investment property, 5.2 million, Santa Barbara, Montecito, up in the hill. He's going to short-term rental it.
Okay.
He's going to put down, we're going in for 3 million, but we're going in for exception for like 3.4 million. So to get it, and we'll know pretty soon if we get it, but it's a good chance, 65% LTV. So we're getting that, but that's a lot higher purchase price. For example, and most of them are capped at 3 million. This guy can go in because he can call the fund and say, look at the property. It's in Montecito, strong borrower. Let's go. Can we get it done? So I'm getting like that done too. That term is like, I think we're going DSCR. It's a 1.15 coverage. I think he's doing a 1-year prepay. I think he's at 7, 30-year fixed, 10-year IO. He might be paying a point. He's like at 7.25 IO.
So that's pretty damn good. So that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
That Mission Hills property at 1.65 and then this Point Loma property at 3.5. How are they going to, like, what would the DSCR restriction be there? Requirement?
When you go below 1.15, you can do it. You'll get a little hit. They're going to hit you obviously because lower, just like anywhere. So you could probably be at a 1 to 1.15. If you're going to short-term rental it, we could possibly go to somewhere that would pull the STR and see that. So, but you might be non-favorable terms as good. So it's just kind of mapping out how you're going to get there, right? You just throw options. It's like, okay, you want to do this option, this guy, even though he's short-term, the long-term rent's really good up there. So I went on and looked, I said, hey, we can meet it at a long-term, a very conservative, because there's just, it's crazy the rents up there in Montecito long-term. It's insane.
Yeah. I was even looking out here in Point Loma. I'm like, some of these like higher end properties are renting for like, 18, 20K. I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like, maybe we could size this up with long-term rents.
Yeah. So you just run it. That's with him.
Just find the best comps and then give that to
That's
the
what we
appraiser.
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
Have a good appraiser. They understand what you're doing. We're all on the same game plan and you can crush it. Yeah.
Are you seeing a lot of appraisals come back low right now, or are you seeing them all kind of come where they need to be?
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Not having any issues.
Yeah.
If they do, I will say we've had some. I would say the appraiser did a bad job. And I rebuttal it and I come back with comps and data, and I've gotten them turned around. And if let's say I didn't, I would go to the AMC, go, this is bullshit. They'll agree. I said, we need to get a new appraisal. So most of the time I've had people turned around because I brought the data, the comps, and I said, I don't think you understand what you're appraising. It's fine, like no argument, but sometimes they miss stuff. They're like, oh, I didn't even see that comp. It's like, no worries. I was wondering why you didn't put it in there. That comp is why you didn't get to the value. And then also when you do rental comps, like long-term, a lot of these appraisers are just maybe looking on the MLS. Well, not everybody lists their stuff with the MLS. They just on Zillow or apartments.com or this. So a homeowner's like, I don't have access on the list. I'm not gonna put it on. They can list a $20,000, a comp for a house. So a lot of times they're not looking. So I look, everywhere and I go, did you see this, 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 and this? And a lot of times they miss it. So you just have to know how to talk to them, where the data is, and just present. And, usually it's kind of hard to fight something where it's like, as long as you can give them good data and it's accurate and they can use it and it's a similar comp, usually it's no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned a lot of your clients are doing the ADU play. They're maybe picking up a small multifamily or single family and then building out a few ADUs.
Or a lot now.
A lot. Yeah, a lot. I had Andrew Greer on last year, and he's like great. Talking about building all sorts of crazy ADUs. I'm like, that's freaking crazy. But yeah, you see that as a big play right now.
Yeah, because think about it. People are buying houses like Claremont, and they're getting plans permits, and they're going to build 8 in the backyard. They're going to piss people off. But also, let's take a coastal property, Pacific Beach. You buy a 4-unit, it has a 4-car garage. You can take 4-car garage, turn it into 2 units. Let's say you don't have connections and it's going to cost you on the expensive side $150,000 for each garage. Super nice. Let's say you build out a 2-bedroom, 1-bath.
Okay. Two additional 2-bedroom baths.
So you're in PB, $150,000 to build a unit. Isn't it worth $700,000 a door? Hey, man, right. I just made $1 million. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's huge.
Even if you're like, I don't want to keep this for the cash flow, change out of it. Like you can just go, if you're like, this is an equity play.
What would you do if you were me? So 1031ing, potentially a couple properties. So Mission Hills, and then potentially something in Point Loma. With the STR play here being so strong and only 800 licenses left, but then also the ADU play being so strong, would you go the STR route and just let my team manage it and I just park the money and I don't have to worry about a thing? And I can also use those properties for like events, investor meetups, and holiday parties. So that's kind of cool. Or would you say, fuck it, go and buy something like you just mentioned in PB, build out a few ADUs and get my money out of it, or continue to, increase the velocity of that money because I can pull it back out and I have options at that point? What would you
Maybe
do?
Try to do both.
One of each? It's food for thought, man. You got my wheels turning, bro.
And I think the short-term rental will just come down to what kind of debt you can get on it, right? What's your payment? The rents and stuff. It's like what kind of debt you can get on it, like, what that looks like.
I don't even care about the rates right now because I know I will refi down the road. So I'm like, whatever.
But that's not bad on DSCR. If you do IO, it's not terrible,
Yeah.
I mean, on 1716, I mean, what do you think you can make in a year conservatively on a property like that? I mean, you know how to run this stuff better than anybody.
Yeah, I think the Mission Hills property, and I got to do a little bit more due diligence, but I think that property, like in the summer, will bring in, 40, 45 a month.
Shit.
And then I think in the slower months, I think you're doing about 20, maybe 15 to 20 in the slower months. January, February is the slowest in San Diego.
Maybe you're talking 250, 350 a year, somewhere in that range of gross.
And then debt service on that thing, I mean, do the math. We're looking at what, $1.2 million loan amounts for maybe 1.3 loan amount. And 8% you're thinking? 7.5?
Yeah, let me see. What did you calculate? Let's see. Get the calculator out. We can do this quick on let's just
80%. What's 80% of the 1.65?
What are you going to buy it for?
1.65. 80% of that, we're looking at about 320 down. They're going to carry
165?
150. All in I'll be about 170 down plus closing costs.
IO, print and IO on the 80% down on the I did 8%, like you said, 8% taxes, insurance, 10.7 payment.
10.7 payment. That's taxes and insurance included? Oh, that's actually not bad. So even if in slow
even though
months,
I'd say look at the debt, why not look at the debt? Because that's not
even in the slow months, if I'm doing 10, 12,000, I'm like still breaking even, and then there's that spread. So it makes a lot of sense there. Now I'm not going to be forcing all that equity and appreciation that I would be with the multifamily. So maybe I do one of each. That one to me is a no-brainer, but then like the Point Loma one, that's a little bit, I don't know. It's a sicker property. It's like, it's got the casita, it's got the pool, jacuzzi, and it's like, it's really dope. But the debt on a $3.5 million purchase, that's the problem is, are you going to really get that much more, right? It's going to be more than double that.
Yeah.
So now we're looking at 22,000 property taxes, insurance. I'm maybe looking closer to 25K.
Now, here's the thing, right? And just I'll tell you. So since I live in the shores, there's a lot of vacation rentals around me. There's a house right across the street. The lady bought it. All cash. She builds a bunch of stuff. $9 million. She charges $2,500 a night. It's not rented that much. I don't think she cares about money. Then there's a house next door to me. They're going to tear down. It gets about $1,000. So my point is that house to this house, this guy paid 3 something. She paid 9.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm like, she is not making that much more. So I'm kind of like, yeah, with you, I'm with you. I'm like, the 3.5, I'm like, I don't know if you're going to get it back, but the 1.7 like that, if it's like, that's where I think the game is.
That's the game, yeah. Especially they're going to carry a little paper and get in for maybe 10% down. Yeah, it's food for thought. Now, that Mission Hills property at 165 in 15 years, it's potentially worth $3 million, maybe 3.2. And that 3.5 million property in Point Loma with the ocean view in 15 years is potentially worth $7 million now, right? So if I think of it that way, it makes sense. But I'm not going to be able to pull my money out of those deals for a long time. And so I just got to be okay. Hey, I'm parking this and I'm just burying that money and I'm not going to see it for a long time. I got to be okay with that. You know what I mean? Whereas if I go do these ADU plays, I know in 24 months, I'm going to be pulling money out or selling for a profit and doing another 1031, right? So it's like kind of a balancing act.
Yeah, because you could buy the properties and make them all nice and pretty and then package it, and some investor is going to come in that
wants a turnkey thing.
Yeah, and just say, here you go, doctor, lawyer, exchange, all cash, somebody from the Bay Area, somebody just like, hey, I want to park my money. And PB is like, that's why I like that, because it's such a strong market. Like if you bring the product,
Yeah. So it's like give and take, man. So it's like turnkey, my team can manage it. It's like freaking chill, no headaches. But like managing construction and renovation, like we're already doing all that with the hotels right now. It's like, do I really want to do more of it? It's like, that's a whole nother thing to manage. So I don't know. I got some decisions to make, but good problem to have, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see. So dude, freaking, how's the commercial side of the business going right now? Tell me about that.
Commercial for Crystal is, last year down 70%.
Damn. In terms of volume?
Yeah.
And that's nationwide.
Yeah, it's down.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, the big brokers here we know in town, they're down. It's just what it is. Like, apartment building is very simple. I buy it for this. I put this much down. This is my debt. It's starting to not make sense, right? So those guys that are buying deals are probably buying for value add, or if you're have a lot of money. You're probably buying just to keep the tax going and the appreciation, just to add it to the wheel. So there's not much transaction. A lot of people also don't want to sell. Sellers that want to sell still are at unrealistic pricing because they're kind of like, if they have good debt and cash flow, they're like, I don't need to sell. You want me to sell? Okay, I'll sell it for this. If not, I'll just sit here and wait. But with that being said, it's back to Crystal, like what's getting done. Again, it's problem solving. You know, Crystal right now is, you know, out in Fontana, you know, working on a $30 million construction loan for a client for, you know, building an apartment building. So there's a lot of opportunity right now where a lot of big, let's say investors, apartment owners that have their go-to banks, you know, we just met with one last week, has a lot of property here. And he's kind of like, hey, I'm kind of tapped out where I'm going. I've got some problems here. I got to bring in the group, you know, we're like, hey, you guys solve these problems. So again, you're getting paid right now to solve problems. The thing that we do right now is we start outreaching to new banks, new lenders and credit unions, trying to find new relationships, who is lending, who's not. That's the key. So you can find a couple lenders that are, they didn't get screwed by the balance sheet. They're okay. They're lending. So that's what we're doing too. So whether it's private money investors, lenders, we are out there hunting and trying to find new relationships, new lenders, so we can help people solve problems. And that's the one thing we're doing now. So we'll find a couple really good places that want to lend, want to do some stuff. And that's key. You know, we're doing lines of credit. Like I got a guy now, the guy that's buying the Santa Barbara property, for example, he was going to sell a property and exchange into that. And it's literally one's down on the water, one's up the hill in Montecito. He's like, I don't want to sell both. Kind of like you, like long-term, these are going to worth more. And he goes, Kenny, can't you just, I said, so I ended up have a small bank. I ended up getting $1 million second behind his pretty damn good rate. And I solved a problem. So he's like, I'm going to go up there. So again, he's
so
like,
he pulled $1 million out and then he could hold the property longer.
Yeah, and then he could buy that one. So again, he's like, he realizes he's using me because he's like, you have all these relationships and I've had them for a long time. So that 10, 20-year relationship, you have these, this is where it comes into play. I'm like, hey, you know me, you know the client, come on, you got to help me out here. So that's really what it's about.
Yeah. I love that. So when someone sends you a deal to size up, are you sending this out to all your lenders, or you know based on the deal, hey, these are the 2 or 3 people that can get it done?
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody has an oddball request, I might ask, I don't send the deal. I might say, hey, let me ask you a question. And then I go, okay, you guys are answering the way I want. Let me go a little deeper. But mostly we get a deal. We know where we're going. We have our go-tos and stuff like that. Yeah.
A lot of it's, I imagine, is relationship based, right?
Yeah. You know how it goes. Just like you've gotten to where you're at. It's like a lot of it's relationship now, right? Like you're raising money and people trust you. It's the whole thing. And like when I, like this guy's giving me the $1 million, like he's the CEO of this small bank. Like I do all the loans for him and the board members. So they know me, but it's also like, when I bring him people, he knows what I'm bringing. It's strong. They're going to pay. There's no BS. So he's putting faith in, hey, you're bringing me as somebody. Like, it's not just like, hey, I'm giving you this deal. It's like, this is my relationship on the line too, to keep this going. If you screw this for me, you might have screwed myself and other clients. So there's a lot more to this, you know, than just a one transactional thing. And most people that come back to us, it's just, I'm not dealing with a guy doing one deal these days. I mean, I have people knocking down houses, building houses. I've got people going to do 5, 6, 7 deals this year. Like it's you know, I'm an advisor. It's a relationship all the way around.
Yeah.
So I'm getting paid to basically, you're paying, it's like an attorney. I'm paying you because you're really good and you have relationships with the judges and the DA and all this, right? Or whatever it is, right? Like that's what it is. You're paying and we're giving that good service. And you know, this is what happens when you've been doing it for 20 years.
For sure. I love that. When you did the second position $1 million note for that guy, how much, like in this environment without the values going up, what's the extra strategy there for him to pay that back? Like what do you show that lender in that scenario?
Because this lender, even though he'll give him it's a good rate, give him a little bit of runway, 3 years, even if it's private money or this, they always say, like, I always tell them, why do you need? I'm like, no, I don't wait for them. I tell them this is the exit strategy. We're going to refi you out. He could sell these buildings. We're going to do this. So I just give them 2 or 3 strategies so they don't have to guess.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. For someone listening right now and they're like thinking about getting in the loan industry, you mentioned at the top of the show, a lot of these loan officers washed out over the last 2 years. Is this a good time for someone to get started?
You know, it's funny you mention that because just in real estate investing, right? And you know this, Rich, it's like Some people did not buy any property in 19, 20, 2022. They're just starting the real estate investing game right now. They know nothing about the past. They don't have any scars. They don't have anything. So they're like, hey, I might go out and find a great deal and opportunity. They might start buying hotels. The rich go, damn, my first deal is a home run. They could have bought the wrong time, been like, this is syndicators. So to me now, it's like, it's not a bad time because if you're not scarred from the past and this and that, you can jump in and go. I like even people on my team, a lot of them, I pulled them out, they're green. They're never in the industry. I don't want the bad attitude, the corrupt, the bad stuff. I want like, oh, you're not in the industry? Cool. I can build you from the ground up. So if you're willing to work hard and stuff like that, like I think it's a great time to start. Ryan Serhant, if people forget, the day he got his real estate license, Lehman Brothers crashed. He started in 2008. It's like the worst time. The guy is one of the most, most popular, famous, and I always tell that story because I'm like, what a bad time to start. Was it a bad time? A lot of people are getting out. So I feel like if you're not, when you start now, you're just not jaded.
Yeah. I like that.
It's like if somebody syndicated apartments and, last 4 years, they could be like, don't do it. It sucks. And you're like, well, dude, I can buy your deal now for like, 70 cents. Maybe it is a good time.
Yeah. And less competition too, which is big,
So much less competition.
And maybe the same thing as a real estate agent right now, jumping in. Like, I guess as a new loan officer, like how do you build your book?
I mean,
just pounding phones, going to networking events. What do you do?
Yeah, but I mean, if you sit down, if you ask Gary Vee, Gary Vee,
social media.
Why would I go to 100 lunches? Why don't I just put content out there where I can get in front of 1,000 people? So I'd say do content. Like you said, go to your network and go to these networking events. Be like it. Damn, this guy's at every rich. What does he do? Like wear a shirt there. It says, I do loans. Like stand out, right? Like get recognized. Also, hopefully people will give you an opportunity or a chance, to do something. But really it's hard work, networking, relationships. And then when you actually get a deal, like do a good job. Don't mess up, because if you mess up, you might not get a chance. Even at my level, I can get an agent, something happens out of control. They're like, not going to use you again. I'm like, okay, I get it. I deserve that, So just even for me, I get an opportunity of a new client, a new referral, anything, like I gotta make sure I get the deal done. Like that's really my reputation to me is more valuable than any commission, anything else. I always say relationships over transactions.
I love that. So I want to ask you about the future prediction. Obviously, we're all speculating here, but based on your knowledge in the industry, where are we going to see this environment at the end of the year in terms of interest rates and just the real estate market in general?
Gosh, if you'd asked me at the beginning of the year, I told you interest rates, the end would end with a 5 in front of it. It's hard to say, but I would definitely say the end of this year, fingers crossed, toes crossed, we get at least 2 rate cuts just for the psychology of it. Let's say the 30-year fix is somewhere around 7-ish, 7.25. I'm just going to pick it, that. Let's hope that rate is, at least at the mid 6s or something. I don't think we're going to get below that. If we do, that means we have some economic data that's not good. Hopefully we don't have World War III.
Yeah. So you say mid 6s, you're talking like conforming Freddie Fannie stuff, and then non-QM might be around like low 7s.
Yeah, but non-QM's been pretty aggressive too, like right there, because it's like they just are, So if they come, everything kind of comes. That would leave commercial rates probably low 6s, high 5s. I could see that happening. But take San Diego. If you think prices are going to go down, you're in the wrong world, wrong planet. That ain't going to happen. I think we're going to have inventory issues across the board. And hey, if you're renting, you probably have a lot more selection and a lot of inventory coming to the market, even though it's like luxury and high end. But that will probably be short-lived in a few years because they're going to build what they have now. And with the debt of trying to get building, you're not going to have much building. And so rents will probably eventually go back up because we're going to have supply and demand problem in the future, as far as that. So, but I would say, if I was going to buy a home and I can do it, I would do it now. I would not wait, because I think you're just going to, maybe the rate's lower, you're just going to pay more, especially a place like here.
Yeah. A couple of the girls on my team, they're talking about partnering on like a deal and doing like a FHA or like a Navy Fed credit union and getting something, and then maybe getting a license from the city and like maybe, operate as a primary residence for a little bit and then turn it into a short-term rental. I'm like, guys, let's get moving. Like, those licenses are only going to be here for a few months. And
I can't believe there's 800
I think when this environment turns around, I mean, there's a lot of new demands going to enter the market again.
Yeah, I mean, San Diego, like you said, it's on the map. It's such an amazing place.
Yeah.
We have our short-term rentals. They're just like, I mean, we were going to like fix them up really nice and they're 90% occupied and just going, and we just haven't like.
You haven't needed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's just amazing here. There's just too much opportunity here, you know? I think there's just so much opportunity. And the opportunity here is taking something that's old and making it new, you know? Like, you know, or, you know, and then rent it, short-term rent it, live in it.
Yeah. No, I feel you there. Will we see 3% rates again?
No.
Never.
I can't say never, but not, I don't see any future. Okay. If we see 3% rates, there's another major problem over here. It's either major recession, war, but the reason why there's 3% is because we need some serious stimulation in the market. Like we need to get this thing going. So there would be problems over here. But
let me ask you a question. So like, you know, with 80% of the money supply being printed over the last 4 years, when the rates go back down, and maybe we don't see 3%, but maybe it stabilizes what, around 5.5.
I would agree with that.
And a lot of this money gets put back out in the economy. Theoretically, do you think real estate values could go up by 80% over the next 10 years because of it? Because of all the new money that's out there?
100%. I think you have a couple of factors here. I did this webinar called Data Over Drama. And really what I talked about is I went back to 2008 and to now. And so I looked at a bunch of different things, not just one. One thing I looked at is immigration. How many people have come into this country, and it's not going to stop, right? Whether it's legal, illegal, whatever. Nobody accounts for that, but those people eventually get jobs and want to be buyers, right? Number two, I looked at the average person that used to die in the 70s and 80s is now starting to live longer. Well, those people also are staying in their houses longer. That's inventory that's never going to hit the market. And when they die, a lot of kids are smarter because of podcasts, books, this and that. They're like, why would I sell? Why don't I just rent it out? So that's inventory off the market. And then, you know, Grant Cardone, I know Pace was interviewing him, had a really good comment one time. You know, somebody's like, oh, there's 5 million shortest house. He goes, I think there's more like 30 million. And what he said is there's so many dilapidated, crappy houses that nobody wants to buy. So, you know, we drive around, get it?
Yeah. And no one wants to live there.
And he even had a good point. He goes, the government's almost going to need these flippers to like flip these houses and get them to make them like actual sellable houses and livable. So we probably have a much bigger supply issue.
30 million.
Yeah. If you think about
America's got 330 million people roughly.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I've seen articles to where we're like 5 to 6 million housing units short.
But if you think about all the shitty
30,
ones, like,
it makes sense. I never thought about it that way.
First-time home buyers, like, they don't have the money to fix it up. They just want to buy, you know, like we just talked about. You go buy that property and make it nice. There's a buyer that's like, I don't want to do what Rich did. I'll just buy it from him at a premium, right? But then after all that, Feds really screwed up because they kept rates long. All these people locked in at low rates. So not only, I tell people in San Diego, not only the rates low and their payments low, but that house that your mom owns, your grandma owns, or somebody owns, they bought it. They can't even rebuy that house now, let alone if rates are low because of the price. I mean, I look at the Hill of La Jolla. Most of the people that bought in there, they probably couldn't rebuy their house because they bought it 50, 40, 30 years ago. And the people that's coming and buying their houses, I took an exit. I'm a biggest doctor, it's all the big dogs, right?
Yes.
And so the people selling, it's like Betty Boo and grandma and this and that. I mean, and so when you look at this and add it up, I just think like you're going to have this supply demand problem, especially a place like here. And so values would just naturally are going to keep going up, you know? And yeah, you hit these pockets where there's like this, but the Feds really probably locked everybody in and I think locked a lot of inventory out. Like, you know, they didn't really count on that.
Yeah. That is a good point. Like the person that bought that house in 1970s and they made all this equity and now they're in their 70s. They don't have the ability to buy that house today. Zero chance. That's crazy.
And you should see the people that are buying them. Like I said, when a sale goes on a big house, I look up the buyer. You know, the number 2 of Uber just bought a $15 million house on the Hill in La Jolla, all cash.
Yeah. How much when these lenders are like making a decision to lend, how much are they like looking up these people on social media and like kind of figuring out, like kind of gauging them a little bit?
Honestly, I don't think they do. I think at a level of, hey, I'm going to give you, like I met with a guy, I don't want to mention his name, he's at Bank of America, I'll just say. They used to have a company called US Trust and it was a private wealth. he manages a lot of very famous celebrities, artists, billionaires, all this. And so they're lending money to all types: art, aircraft. You want an $80 million, $100 million mortgage, yacht, all that, planes. And so they definitely, at that level, they're checking you out. If I'm going to go lend you $200 million line of credit, like, you bet I want to know who I'm lending to.
Yeah. That makes
Not only you're financially this, it's like, that's a lot of money. So at that level, yeah. At the Fannie, this and that, no, not really. It's too, that's transactional. At the private bank, the big level where it's relationship, different level, different game.
That makes sense. Neighborhoods here in San Diego, which ones are you bullish on in terms of like, these are good buys today, and in 5, 7, 10 years, they're going to gentrify and you're going to do very well? You have a couple good ones?
Yeah. I mean, I think like Bay Park is, because the view is crazy.
Yeah.
I'll stay away from the coastal because that's always just going to crush it to me. Mission Hills, very underrated.
Yeah.
I think nobody comes here to visit Mission Hills, but I live there. It's like great neighborhood, good restaurants too. I don't know if you've been up there. Those restaurants, like great. Yeah.
And it's close to downtown. It's close to everything.
It's very underrated. And I feel like that place could just be so much more expensive. Obviously the North Park, the South Park, the Golden Hill, all those are good. Kensington to me is really underrated too. Beautiful little neighborhood, little pocket over there. But I think a neighborhood that could really blow up too is the Marina, Linda Vista, all that near USD, just because of all that. But then, over here, depending on what they do with the whole sports arena and all that, this.
Oh yeah. So like Point Loma area.
That could just,
OB?
Yeah. I think Point Loma too is, like I said, again, people don't come here and go, oh, I'm going to Mission Hills or Point Loma. They go to the usual spots, right? But Point Loma is dope too. It's just like little hidden gems. So I think there's just like within these neighborhoods, sectors around there's pockets. Like, one of the biggest real estate investors I know here always said, just buy right next to a nice neighborhood. Money always moves in there, right?
Yeah, that's good. What is that project over there in Sports Arena? I hear like potential NBA, NHL arena.
Yeah, but then also too is there's Spay War or whatever, this building here. Those buildings were obviously, they built airplanes there in World War II. And so now they use them as actually office buildings, which they're trying to knock that down and build towers. And then, the Mission Hills people are kind of like, no, but it still wouldn't block views. That's going to go through. So they're supposed to basically clear all that out, and they're supposed to go all in there and just do the sports arena. So I don't know about it, but I've seen, if you look at the whole preview, it's crazy. You're talking about regentrification. I mean, that you're going to be like, it's going to be a whole different spot. 20 years, you're going to blink and wake up in San Diego and be like, holy smokes. I think we're right here, Little Italy. I think this place is going to be like a gold. It's going to be so expensive here.
Yeah. It's interesting to see. Like I rent here a new construction, Simone, 440 units. And typically those buildings take 12 to 18 months to lease up. And these are pretty high rents. They're going to lease this thing up entirely in like less than like 9 months. That's crazy, right? So it's just a testament to how strong the rental demand is in this area, and so.
Well, just the walkability here and it's like, if you don't have kids, it's like, why not be here?
It's my favorite neighborhood for me, not having kids. Walk everywhere. I walk to the office, from a networking standpoint, like all the best restaurants right here. So it's just, I don't have to ever drive, which is, it's freaking nice, dude.
Yeah. And downtown's a different scene. Like,
it's still.
I feel like it's like night and day, right? Like,
yeah. It's like a zombie apocalypse over there in East Village, dude. It's crazy.
You gotta be on guard there. You gotta be like,
you gotta watch out, man.
Oh, I'm nervous walking around, dude. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, you don't know what's gonna come at you.
No.
But over here, dude, like Little Italy. I mean, I've been in this neighborhood for almost 8 years now. I never see cop cars hanging out here. Like, there's no issues. Like, it's a safe neighborhood.
I feel like they just don't tolerate it here.
They just don't. For some reason, they stay out of it. For the most part, it's pretty crazy.
Maybe these business owners are like, shoo, get out of here.
They've actually been cleaning up the freeway passes too. Like, they used to be able to like camp out, and like the hotels in Dell, when we bought it, they used to have like camp outs across the street. But since they've completely cleaned it up, dude.
How's your hotel doing?
Dude, we did the grand opening in December, and then in late January we had the heavy rains and it got flooded out. Not the whole hotel, but like a whole stack. So we had 4 units get flooded out, and then the 2 downstairs. So it was a total of 6 rooms got flooded out. Insurance was like denied our claim initially, and now
you just redid it.
Yeah, so we had to shut down the whole hotel for a little bit, And then now we're fully back up and running. So that was like definitely like it sucked. And then insurance didn't pay out. So we're covering it with our own money.
What?
Yeah. So now we're working with the adjuster and they're like going after the insurance company, hoping to recoup whatever we can.
That's insane.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of a bummer. But that said, no, it's doing good. We're back up and running. And now I'm like, okay, now it's go time. We gotta dial in the P&L. We got to dial in the revenue management and the gross revenue and really try to lean out the expenses so we can kind of gear up for a refi, hopefully at the end of this year, early 2025. That's the plan, So, but yeah, we funded it with our own money. We didn't pause any distributions to investors. It was business as usual, but that's part of the game. That's how you build trust. And, we communicated the whole thing to the investors and it is what it is. But yeah, it's business as usual, man. So we're ripping and we're excited about it.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Congrats on that.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate you, bro. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you hanging out, dude, as always. Always a wealth of knowledge, dude. And, dude, we got to kick it more often, man. Maybe I'll come on your show and we'll run it back
I think
sometime.
we got to do that.
I'd love to.
Yeah, I was driving over here thinking about that.
Yeah, I was, when I came in to do yours, you guys inspired me to start this.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, I gotta come back and run it back, dude. I'd
because
love to.
you're doing a lot much different stuff. And so for sure, I'll
we'll
definitely hit you up for
dude.
that.
Let me know. Cool, dude. Where can listeners get in touch with you, man?
Simpson-team.com or Kenny B. Simpson Instagram. Just DM me, hit me up if you guys have questions, book a call. Like a lot of people ask me questions.
The DSCR game, non-QM, all that stuff, creative financing, making it happen.
Like I'm like an encyclopedia with this stuff.
Yeah, there it is, my man. He's Kenny Simpson. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
If you're already a real estate investor, you know that aside from cash flow, you also get huge tax benefits by investing in real estate. But are you taking full advantage of all the potential tax benefits? We've been working with Tim Looney at CSSI for a few years now, and he's saved us and our clients hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in taxes doing cost segregation studies on their properties. Let me give you a few examples. We bought a property in 2019. If we had just used straight line depreciation, we would have saved about $18,750 in taxes. But because we did a cost seg, we saved $258,000. That's $239,350 more than standard straight line depreciation in the first year. The other great thing is, if you're classified as a real estate professional, you can apply this to other sources of income like W-2 or 1099 income, and you can also roll over any unused depreciation to future years. If you've owned your properties for a few years already, don't worry, you can still do a cost seg and save big on your taxes. This is not tax advice, so consult your CPA to see if you qualify to take advantage of these benefits. Call or text Tim at 318-469-9861 to get your complimentary property analysis. Once again, that's 318-469-9861. And I'll also include his information in the show notes. You guys don't want to miss out on these tax savings.